It's Leanne here. I'm not too sure where Alan is, but I thought I would jump on and live stream. Anyway, if he jumps in the next sort of 5 or 10 minutes, we'll see how long this goes. Of course, we'll bring up on stage. If not, I just wanted to say good day and say Happy New Year to all of you. So today it is Talk the Walk, but we don't have Alan Weiss yet. I'd love to know if you're joining us, where are you joining me? Where are you joining me from? So today's topic was actually all about the new year and new ideas. And so I thought it might be nice just to share, I guess, what I'm working on, what I'm thinking about when it comes to 2026. And of course, if Alan Weiss is able to join us, we'll bring him onto the call. I'll keep my email on to see if he is around and joining us. But if not, and you do have questions for Alan, let us know in the comments as well. But I guess I have a question for you. New year, new me. Do you agree or disagree with that? New year, new me. Are you feeling that you're a completely new person as you jump into 2026? Or is there still a bit of legacy that you're bringing along? I mean, of course there is, right? It would be a bit silly to start from scratch. But I do think it is nice, and New Year's resolutions absolutely get a really bad rap. But I don't go on with resolutions. I'm like, what is the theme for the year? What am I really thinking about and honing in on as well? So I'm curious to hear from you. Let us know where you're joining us from. Not too sure where Alan is. Thought I'd just jump on and share some of my thoughts for the new year while we wait for him. And if he doesn't come along, that's okay as well. Nicole, really great to have you here. Nicole, I don't know if you're joining us from the beautiful Gold Coast. And you agree with new year, new you. I love that. I do think every year has its own sort of energy and slant. And retrospectively, you can go back and go, oh, 2014 was a great year or not so good. I think last year was a big one. I was doing my daily podcast, Leanne on Demand. So it's actually very nice not to have to do that this year. Like, it was a really great project, but I'm also very glad that it ended on the 31st of December as well. Nicole, new year, 2026, new identity to match my December 2026 vision. Love that. Yes. So that's something I actually wrote about in my article on Substack last week. Was all about, I think the best way to reflect on a year is to think about, who did you want to become? And did what you do, did your calendar actually reflect the person that you wanted to be? So I think I love that Nicole, you're starting that retrospectively, putting that vision of who 2026 December Nicole is, and then working back from there. That's a great strategy. MK, thank you for joining us. MK is Meanjin, a local in Brisbane. I'm in Meanjin as well. I've just shared with everyone. I don't know where Alan is. I've sent him the link. I hope he's okay. But I just thought, rather than leave you all hanging, I'll jump in and share my thoughts on the new year as well. I'm also really keen to answer your questions or hear what you're up to. So let's keep it going on in the chat as well. You can be my stand-in Alan's today as we do this. So not the best start I was joking about how the producers of this show have extended the season because they love it. Of course, the irony is that, Alan and I are the producers. So let us know what is in store for your year. What have you got going on in the comments? I feel like it's been a hard and a slow start for me. I started my year January 1st, flying to Queenstown, New Zealand, just on a vacation with a really great friend of mine. It's amazing, a great way to start. And then I went back into it, and I've had some very kind of aggressive deadlines for my book. So I landed my book deal with Wiley in December last year. It's going to be released in October this year, which means the manuscript is due on the first final, as in getting all the words together, is due on the 16th of March, which is exactly 2 months away from now. So it's quite nuts. Nicole, love Alan's exercise and new identity. Agree. Yeah. So we did a whole talk the walk on this, Nicole. I think it was around, and Alan actually called me up on it because he says, who do you want to be? And I was like, oh, I'd like to be an author, I'd like to be a keynote speaker. And he's like, you're playing too small. You can do that. What about you want to be the world's leading authority on X? And so I really loved that reframe. And actually having someone challenge to think bigger as well. Because I think we often, when we're describing our identity, we're thinking about, what do I want to be doing, as opposed to what is the goal of who you want to be. So yes. MK, same me, but watering what I planted last year so it blooms. Oh, I love that analogy. Thanks, MK, of sharing that you're there to, like, you kind of like this is the season of harvesting perhaps for you, like just building on what you created last year. Always love seeing what you're up to. So let us know what you do in chat as well. And if you're joining us for the first time, I'm sorry, I don't know where Alan is. I just thought I'd share some updates on the new year, what I'm thinking as well. And the question was really around, is it new year, new you? Agree or disagree? A question I have for you as well. This is always interesting. What do you think is being overhyped going into the year? I'm when I think about that question about what is being overhyped, I am in two minds. I mean, I think the number one thing we're all going to say is like AI. I think AI in terms of hype just comes to mind. I'm really curious around, is it being overhyped or is this like legitimate? And I was watching Diary of a CEO. Let us know if you listen to his podcast or watch his videos on YouTube. He did an interview with Tony Robbins that dropped yesterday. I've only managed to catch sort of the first 45 minutes. And Tony Robbins is talking about, how quick this is going to disrupt us, the displacement of jobs at scale that we've never seen before. And no one in government, no one was really planning for the fallout of that. And he was talking about violence. When people lose their identity, we talked about identity just before, Nicole. When people lose that, what tends to happen? And the Luddites he was referring to in the UK, when farming machinery came into effect, they would actually try to destroy the machinery. There was a massive sort of uproar, protests around it. And humans don't really change that much. So, but even like the displacement of jobs, like what do we do? If there's less knowledge workers and our clients are knowledge workers, there's so many things to consider. My prediction is in the next 3 years, I think we'll be, if you're in consulting, I think we'll be okay for the next 3 years. I do think it's definitely worth keeping your head up and just getting a sense of what's, obviously what's emerging, what opportunities there are. I, as a practice and in today's Substack, let's see if I can share that. So every Friday I write an article. Today's one was pretty simple, but actually, and the reason I wrote it, I was like, this is actually too simple. The reason I wrote it is because a client said, oh, that was such a great use of AI. And I'm like, oh, it's so simple. What I did was, instead of using Google Maps to find a location to meet, because often when when you're meeting up with someone, maybe you're in a new town and you're in two different areas, and someone in the group has to figure out, where do we catch up? Can we meet halfway? And then you're on Google Maps trying to find cafes and it all gets really hard. Google Gemini is a really great tool, because what it can do is you can add in context of where this person is, where you are, where you're coming from, where you need to be, what time of day. Does it do, what are the reviews like? Is the volume at a reasonable level? You can actually add all that in your query in Gemini. It links into Google Maps and it'll give you recommendations based on that. It's such a simple fix, but just a new way of using Gemini. I just thought it was awesome. Marianne, I think the hype is legitimate. Yes. Yeah, I do too as well. And so where I was going with that is what I try to do every week is just try to figure out a real use case for me, and how can I get AI to help fix that challenge that I've got. Often I do watch a lot of YouTubers. I watched a guy last night because I was getting into Gemini, and because I love that it's Google and Google owns YouTube, and I think there's a lot of potential with that. And there were some fun things he was showing, like you can share the link of the YouTube video, it will download it, it will create graphic recordings and stuff and notes and articles off the back of it. But then I was watching other people creating these apps and what they're doing, and I'm like, I just feel so far behind already. But also, none of this is really a non-linear breakthrough. It's just making what we're currently doing better. AI is just going to be the disruption of general intelligence, I think, is going to be a whole other thing. Okay, Nicole, loved the hack, helped me get in the room here today. That's awesome. I'm so happy. Yes, and I definitely like let me know in chat, like, what's your favorite AI tool that you use. So there's obviously Gemini, there's Claude, there's ChatGPT. Let us know in chat which one you tend to use. I was at the beginning, of course, like everyone else, using ChatGPT as like my main hub. Claude I find really great just for its like the writing in Claude is better, and Gemini I think is actually probably the smarter one because it it owns, like I said, Google, the integrations in terms of adding like your Gmail and everything else. It can get pretty scary and pretty wild, but I think that's really great. Okay, so that's AI, and yeah, curious to hear your thoughts on what's being overhyped. But like MK shared, I don't think it's being overhyped. This is a nice question I was going to ask Alan as well, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this. What actually makes a year great in hindsight? I had a friend of mine, Alex. G'day, Alex, if you're listening. And we're on WhatsApp at the end of the year, and he was asking, like, how do you reflect on the year? And I said, like, I feel like the end of the year, it's a great time to stop and reflect, of course. But I feel like if you're doing hours and hours of reflection, I just can't do that. I can't. I think it's because I find it more powerful reflecting either in the moment. So if I've had a client gig or a call or a meeting, or I'm doing work and I'm not, like, it's not my zone of genius, like, you reflect then, I find, is more powerful because obviously then you've got room to adjust. I don't like having to wait for an end of period to do it. End of week is also really nice, but usually when I find I get to Friday, I'm like, I just want to get a massage. Maybe I'll do some reflecting and sorting in my own mind. But I find more of that in the moment, on demand reflection is way more powerful than at the end of a year, because it's really hard to, like, recency bias. You're basically just going to talk about what happened in November and December. The most helpful practice, if you are doing a yearly reflection, I think, is going into your calendar. This is an activity from Tim Ferriss. So you draw two columns. One is what you enjoy doing, or, like, keep doing this. And the other column is, I do not do any more of this. And you go back to every week in your calendar and you just write down what you actually would do again. Like, if that was great, either it was, I learned something from it, it was useful, it fueled me, or you look at that calendar invite and you're like, I never want to do that again. And you capture that. And I did this probably 2 or 3 years ago, and just doing it 1 year dramatically improved my life the next year. And I guess last year was pretty good. I don't think there was anything like I hated doing or committed to, because I'd done that reflection the previous years as well. Year of the horse, but in a good way. I like it. Yeah, everyone's getting really excited about this year of the horse. It was year of the snake last year, right? The poor snake. They always get a bad rap. And Devlin, great to have you here. Let us know where you're joining us from, Devlin. I don't know where Alan is, and so I'm going to keep the show running for another 5 or 10 minutes, as long as you're interested or I've got things to talk about. I don't think he'll be joining us. I hope he's okay, but we'll definitely reschedule our talk the walk. Personal growth, to be honest, is overhyped. Interesting. That's what I'm thinking you're answering, Devlin. I'd love to hear more on that perspective. Personal hype, to be honest. Yeah, honestly, the self-help arena is massive. And actually, the other great thing that came in the conversation yesterday on Diary of a CEO with Steve Bartlett was really around how we're so focused, we're so self-absorbed on self-care and self-development, but really it's all about relationships, connections, and being of service. And if you can actually, and I love that, because if you think about the other person, you get out of your own head. And so Tony Robbins was talking a lot about that as well. Thanks for doing that, Nicole. Devlin, Canada, lovely, great place. Dee Dee, okay, Nicole's comment. Dee Dee did an awesome reflection practice. She went through her phone, and because we take photos of the great stuff, it helped her realize all the amazing things that did happen. Yeah, that's such a great thing. I mean, we only I would imagine, take photos of things that are great. Although I was thinking, obviously, use that for evidence as well. We've got Alan here. Alan is joining us. G'day, Alan.
I'm sorry, everybody. I thought this was 4:30 my time. I beg your pardon.
Hey, so, I've kept the show running for you for 15 minutes. I was like,
I'm sure you did. So I toast you.
Okay, cheers to you. I was like, what would Alan do in this situation? Like, he would totally just jump on live and talk. So here we are. Great to have you here. Welcome, everyone. Alan, they've been listening to me for the last 15 minutes talking about the new year. What's on for your new year?
Well, I don't make resolutions, you know. I mean, I think they're kind of silly. I think that you look forward and you resolve that you want to accomplish as much as you can and take advantage of the blessings that you have,
Mm.
and you want to help other people, you know. And I think that a simple resolution, even partially kept, is better than grand resolutions that you don't keep at all.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of avoid the word resolution. I think it adds a lot of pressure, but I do like having sort of projects that you do or things that you might try, maybe experiments is a better word for me. Because
Yeah, but you don't need New Year's for that.
exactly. Actually, I was just talking about that. I think we put way too much hype on the new year, and it's like there's every moment and every day to reflect and obviously adjust and course correct.
Yeah, I agree.
And so, what's on for your 2026?
What's on for me? Well, I've got 5 books coming out this year. The first one next month, the second one in March, two more mid-year, and then the big one near the end of the year. Although I'm halfway through that one already, so it might be moved up. And we just came back from the West Coast, seeing our West Coast family, and now we spent part of Christmas also with our East Coast family here in Massachusetts. We'll be going to next week. We go to Naples, Florida. In April, we go to Portugal. In May, we go to London. That's
Are
what I
there any
know.
spaces in your calendar, or is it you basically locked in for the year?
No, there's a lot of empty space. A
Nice.
lot of empty space. In fact, last year,
Mm.
I think I set a record last year for least amount of flying in my career, even though we went to Argentina and to Ecuador.
Fantastic. And so I've just been talking about my really aggressive deadline for my book, which is in 60 days from today, so March 16. Meanwhile, you're parallel processing 5 books. How are you doing that? How are you writing 5 books in a year without going
Well,
crazy?
I wrote the first 4 last year,
Oh,
and
okay.
right, and I write a book in about 2 months. The publisher wants it in 6. I promise it in 4. I write it in about 2.
Yeah.
I should actually write a book in a 40-hour week. I could write a 200-page book in a 40-hour week, and I would do it if somebody paid me, say, $250,000. But that's the way I write. I have a formula for writing. I write about 4 pages, which is one sub point in a chapter every time I sit down. That takes me 30 minutes, and you just extrapolate from there. So that's not so difficult. And 2 of the books, people are paying me to write with them. That's one of the things I offer in my vault, so to speak, in the accelerant curve. And so 2 of them are co-authored. But they count.
Absolutely, they count. That's awesome. And this year, 2026, if we don't want it, if you've got consultants in your community, if we don't want it to be the same as what it was in 2025, what should we be thinking about?
Well, this is what I wanted to talk about anyway. I think we need to change expectations. We need to review and change our expectations. And the problem is when we have expectations and we don't hit them, we get depressed. When we have expectations and we hit them, we could have gone farther, but we don't, and so we stop short.
Mm.
And so, for example, I knew someone who, in his 50s, had always wanted a family and children. And in his mid-50s, he didn't have a wife and he didn't have children. And he was depressed about this. And I said, change your expectations. You find a woman who's divorced or widowed who has kids, or find a woman and adopt children.
Mm.
And essentially, he chose one of those options. And all of us need to change our expectations. You can't just continue to, if you hit an insurmountable boulder in the road, you can't keep flinging yourself against it. You got to go around.
Mm.
And that we think there's some loss of ego. There's some loss of respect if we change an expectation. Now, if you expect it to be polite and you're not polite to people, that's a different story. But the fact is that personally, we need to tuck our ego away. And the real strength of a person is recognizing my expectation either was wrong or it's out of date. That's why I need to change it. And so when you talk about a new year, I think we need to review, what are we expecting and is it still reasonable?
How do we know that though? Because sometimes maybe we are just around the corner from getting that. And a lot of the time we might think it's quitting. And so we don't want to be the quitter. We want to be that resilient person that finishes the job. Like how do you know?
See what happens is you attach a pejorative word, quitter, instead of somebody who's clever, instead of somebody who's resilient, instead of somebody who's resourceful. So our self-talk damages our ego still more. Yeah, and the fact is that really bright people are able to understand when they should power forward and when they should circumvent something. and when they should give up something entirely. So you've heard me say this before. If you try to do something, whether it's clean out the garage or it's create a new offering for your business, and in 30 days you can't do it, you're not going to do it without help. Nothing's going to change to make you do that. And if you get help, if you get an expert to help you, and you still haven't done it in 90 days, you're not going to do it at all. So hire a firm to clean out the garage and hire somebody who will create a new product for you. But it's not going to happen, right? Yeah. So you wrote about recently, look, if you want a great place to eat, don't try to search for things, ask AI and make as many requirements as you wish. Like it has to have shade, be under water. That's really smart. And so don't pour over, your past history of cafes and don't start to call friends. I mean, use something that's going to save you time and be smart. It doesn't demean you. But this is why I'm writing the book on self-esteem, because people's self-esteem and their egos are exposed today like never before. And so they get bruised all the time.
Exactly. And a lot of people don't even want to start or put something out there because of that reason as well. I'm just like, what do I got? It's a bit tricky because sometimes as well, like you think you're plodding along and you think it's okay, but it's only when you talk to someone else and realize, oh, maybe, when you're a solo consultant or when you're working in isolation, you don't really know what the gold standard is or what it could be. And so, yeah, there's a big reason there
right. But you shouldn't be in isolation.
No.
In kids' sports, they have something called the mercy rule. And the mercy rule is if you're playing, let's say, football and you're behind by 30 points, they end the game. If you're playing baseball and you're behind by 10 runs, they end the game. It's a mercy rule because the kids will sort of blindly try to keep trying, or their coach's ego will be at stake. And the fact is, we all need a mercy rule for ourselves. So, Nicole says here, a good lesson for me, I need to know when to stop. Right. Stopping is not necessarily a negative. Stopping can be tremendously smart and positive. So you redirect your energy and resources to a better path and to a better end. We're much too hard on ourselves, and we're afraid other people are going to condemn us. We're afraid of the normative pressure. So you said you were going to write a book. How far have you gone? Well, I haven't. I'm trying. I mean, I'm halfway through the first chapter, but I have writer's block. Instead of saying, I tried writing a book and I realized it wasn't for me, and so I'm putting my efforts into podcasts.
Yes, actually, this really happened to me last year because I really wanted to write another book, and I'm like, it's not happening. Like it is like, I just can't, like it just wasn't happening. So like, well, I'll just start writing every week on Substack. And by doing that, by like writing my way through it, then I got a book deal because it just emerged. I didn't stop, but I actually kind of pivoted because I'm like, well, I'm in, what is it? What is it when you're a purgatory? I was in book purgatory. But I nudged myself out.
Downstairs I have shelves full of awards and all this kind of stuff. And I got them coming out of my ears, or Marshall Goldsmith uses even a more colorful phrase for this. But the fact is, 99% of those awards I didn't want. I mean, I got them and I merited them, but that's not why I did what I was doing.
No.
See? And a lot of people can't win enough. In other words, they do something really well, but then they find somebody who did it better. And so they haven't won enough because now they chastise themselves. Or they run into some passive aggressive who says, oh, yeah, you did well on the test, but not as good as your sister used to,
Yeah.
So we need to lead our own lives.
And I think it's really true. I mean, I think you talk about this as well when it comes to like strategy within business. Like or the plan, like you're so focused on delivering on the plan that you might miss like a really great side door opportunity. I spoke to you at the top of this episode around your year, and I'm like, oh, it sounds like everything's locked in, but you're like, no, there's still space to do other things. Like you're not, yeah. And I think probably the biggest fear I would have is having a year that's everything's like, I know exactly what I need to do. I just need to deliver on it. It doesn't give you that space for new things or potentials that might actually be a lot better.
That applies to time and money. People say, how much time should I put against marketing? Oh, I've spent all my development money. Don't be stupid. I mean, for God's sakes, if a marketing opportunity comes along because you spent something, you're not going to take it. I mean, that's what clients tell us. Oh, I have no budget. Yeah, but you have money. So let's talk about how to move the money. Oh, all my time's right. Yeah, but you have time. We can move your time. Time's a priority, not a resource. We can move your time. So, we have to take control of our lives. My wife and I were talking earlier today, and we said something. I said, I'd love to go to Vegas again. We'd love, and she said, yeah. I said, a lot of people love to go to Vegas, and
Yes.
Vegas is having a hard time right now because
Oh.
of online gambling and remote gambling. So prices are down,
Mm.
and that means hospitality is down. In other words, hotels are cheaper and everything's cheaper. I said, we ought to do something in Vegas. I'll do something in Vegas for a day or two, and it'll give us an excuse to get out there.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will come because it's high, it's much more affordable, and people love it.
Yeah.
So, I didn't say to myself, "Yeah, when am I going to fit that in?" I said, "Okay, let's make sure we give it a 90-day lead time, and let's put it together." You
Nice.
need that flexibility in life.
I love that because you're right. That if I had an idea out in Vegas, I'd be like, all right, now I need to like go in and find a venue and lock in the date. That's a really nice approach. It's like I want to do it sometime in between June and September.
Yeah, I mean, when I figure out what a good time to do it is, then I'll start looking for the venue, and I'll find it somehow. And you know me, I'm not going to design the program. I'll have a name and marketing. I won't design the program till a week or two before.
It's so good. I need to do more of that. Hey, and you need to go. I don't know if the Backstreet Boys are still playing at the Sphere, but I hope you get to that show. Nicole asked the question, and Nicole, thank you so much for texting Alan about the time. Nicole asked, "Is it the goal in concrete and the plan in sand?" Oh, I like how that rhymes.
Yeah, I'd argue with the metaphor a little bit. For example, goals shouldn't be in concrete. Goals change, just like changing your expectations. Goals change in life as you mature, as you get older, as you meet new people, as your family circumstances change, as your job circumstances change. So the goals should be a living, organic things that you examine and decide if they're still accurate. You have to do that the new year. You can do it anytime.
Yeah.
And in terms of plans being in sand, my problem with that is when I think of sand, I think of your foot slipping. I just think that what we need is flexibility. And we have to give ourselves permission to be flexible. Instead of writing on the wall at the end of the chart, it will be $2.5 million, and it will be 12 clients, and I'm going to go to Andorra, So it's got to be more flexible. I'm going to travel the world. I'm going to make more than enough money to sustain my lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah. That sounds like that could literally be my three things. What is the difference between like being flexible and then being flippant? I feel like I don't even know if they're on the same continuum, but sometimes I feel like maybe I'm a little bit flippant. What do you say?
Flippant really is a verbal description of people who don't take things seriously. So if I say to you, hey, listen, just go out and write a book this afternoon, you can finish it. You'll say, Alan, you're being flippant.
Yeah.
But I think the point here is that we need the self-assurance, the self-confidence to say to ourselves, okay, here's a coma, here's doing nothing. And then here are various stages of progress. And then here's something outrageous. So this is my screen sharing here.
Yeah.
So somewhere in here is what I call the feasible set. So anything to my left, as you look at my left, as you look at, is not sufficient. And anything beyond the right is too aggressive. But anything in here, it's not a single point. This is the feasible set.
Yeah.
And that means you have a range of accomplishment. You have a range of success there. And so don't beat yourself up. It doesn't matter whether you're here or here or here, as long as you have made that kind of progress.
Yeah.
And, we're too hard on ourselves.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think Nicole's point around stopping. I think for my problem is knowing when to not start, because I want to start everything. Like there's so many. I just see a ton of amazing opportunities, and so it's like, how do you pick the one?
Well, I told you earlier. Every time I see you doing something, you're doing 12 things, not one.
Exactly.
Thing. I mean, so that's a lot of energy, and it's a lot of insight and innovation. That's all great. But I think what we miss is that sometimes one thing is as good as another. And we spend so much time trying to figure out the priorities that we don't. This is a 1, but this is a 1.23, just pick something and do it.
I love that. I think some of the pushback around changing expectations could be like, does it actually mean that you're settling, that you're not, that you could be more? I mean, what's this common phrase everyone's talking about? Getting the best out of you and unleashing your potential. Like that's like, obviously we talked about, Devlin mentioned self-help and self-development, but like, yeah. Does it mean that you're settling if you kind of?
Well, it's a pejorative expression in terms of this conversation. I think what it means is you're being discretionary. You're using your judgment. And we don't trust our judgment enough, and we're not honest with ourselves. Let me go back to Vegas here.
Okay.
When my wife and I gamble, we allot a certain amount of money that we're going to gamble.
Yeah.
And our expectation is we'll have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Our expectation, not that we're going to win, that we're going to have fun. If we win, it's a benefit. If we lose the money, we're done. And it's like spending money to go to a play. You might not like the play, you might like it, but the money was spent for entertainment.
Yes.
And so if you go with the expectation of winning in Vegas, you're out of your mind.
Totally.
If you go with the expectation of just having a good time, that's very reasonable, So if you go with the expectation of trying, let's just say, to lose weight, everybody's injecting themselves with everything these days. What if your expectation was simply had to be healthy? What if your expectation were not to look like someone else, but to be healthy and happy, and to lead a certain lifestyle?
Yeah.
So we control this, but the advertising and the normative pressure and the influencers and everything else put undue pressure on us.
Yeah. So Chris and I, when it comes to health, like our health goal is just to be healthy so we can like sit in an airport in a plane seat and no one really cares. And also like just we can go and travel and do cool things and walk all day. Like that's the fitness goal really, is just to be mobile and be able to do stuff. And I think that's okay. It's not a weight goal. It's not anything else. So
yeah. I agree. And that's why I hate bucket lists, because if you have a bucket list to climb Kilimanjaro and you don't do it, you failed. Instead, your goals, your expectation, we can have a great time, going to enjoy the country, and maybe do some outrageous things. But if you have 12 things on a bucket list and you only do 4 of them, which might be spectacular things, suddenly, you haven't done 8 or whatever it is, and you feel bad about yourself.
Yeah. I've got a question. I know like you're a very fast operator. I want to talk about this, like patience versus procrastination when it comes to expectations, and how do we know whether we're being patient? Maybe my business I should be earning more. I should have a bigger audience, like all these thoughts. Oh, I've just got to wait a few years versus, what can I do right now? Where do you think people get sort of stuck between those two phrases? Like, when is it good to be patient? And how do you know you're being patient and not actually procrastinating?
Well, procrastination is based on fear. Patience isn't. If it's patience, procrastination is based on this fact that while I will be critiqued for taking a long time and vacillating, which is procrastination, I fear that less than I fear actually completing this and being critiqued for it. So it's a matter of being in a position of less fear than more fear. In terms of patience, again, your expectation should be reasonable. If you're writing a first book, you should have the patience to understand you might have to consult other people and do some research and learn some things. And, it could take you a year to do that. If you're writing your 8th book, then it shouldn't take you a year to do that, or something's wrong. So patience has to match the circumstances and the person's ability. I could have all the patience in the world, and I could never play golf because the sport bores the hell out of me. I could have all the patience in the world and never learn to play the piano as much as I'd like to, because I have no affinity for music. So patience is based on realism. Based on fear.
Do you think patience is a virtue?
Under the right circumstances. I'll tell you something, Leanne, anything taken to an extreme is not a virtue. And so, years ago, a guy named Barry Goldwater ran for president here, Republican, I think, and he was urged not to say defense of freedom is extremism in the defense of freedom is not a vice. And they begged him not to say this. And he said it, and he lost the election in a landslide. Anything taken to an extreme is usually a negative. So we have to be able to say, more of this isn't necessarily good. I'm at the good place. See, this is the feasible set. But more of it could be a negative. There's a limit to how much lobster I should eat.
Never.
I'm talking Australia. I'm talking not those crayfish you have down there.
Okay. Nicole's goal, speaking of lobster, it's a healthy, not in moderation, healthy, happy, wealthy, and wise. I love that as a goal, things to aspire to, fitness goal, to be able to ski at 80 years. Amazing. I can't even ski at 42. So I've just never been into, I don't think I have the patience to ski, to be honest. I think that's just something I'm not going to attempt.
Well, you believe it or not, I'm 80 next month. I'm the eldest of the baby boomers.
Oh,
And
wow.
I don't, but I could still ski. And I can do a lot, but I'm realistic, understanding now what I can do and what I can't do. Mentally, there's no difference, thank God. But physically, I'm not going to go out and shovel snow.
Yeah. 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 That's that realism, right?
Yeah.
I asked, we talked about this before you jumped on. I was just getting into a conversation around what's being overhyped into this year. What do you think has too much hype or too much attention?
Well, the obvious one is AI as an anodyne,
Yeah.
as a cure-all.
Mm.
It's very, very useful. It'll also suck in a lot of people's time. Just like when the internet first hit, social media became a time dump. And so I think the biggest overhype is AI.
Mm.
People are saying it'll wipe out Hollywood, it'll wipe out the entertainment community. I think it's kind of premature to say that. But I think another overhype is this whole thing about toxic workplaces. We need to get rid of that.
Yeah.
We need to escape the whole old woke movement. And that's one of the last residual parts of it. And if you're complaining about constant toxic workplaces, it's you, it's
Mm.
not them.
Mm.
And I think that I don't know what a toxic workplace means. I mean, people aren't being poisoned, but if you have a toxic workplace, I think it's because you have toxic employees. And
Yes.
so
Yes.
people need to
Yes.
take accountability for themselves
Yeah.
and stop crying about the boss and the organization and Wall Street and consumerism and everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
do you find some people, they like every single workplace they've been in has been toxic? And it's like, okay, what's the denominator here? I would never say that, but yeah, like constantly complaining around.
I want to make one more nomination here, which might be surprising.
Okay.
And that there's too much hype around gambling, especially in the United States here, because
Really?
you can bet on a stroke during a tennis match. You can bet on points during the basketball game. They've arrested some officials and they've arrested some players who have deliberately tried to influence games. And there was just a news article today.
Mm.
I think 28 former and present college players have been arrested for affecting the score by not doing their best or whatever it happens to be. I think gambling is going to undermine sports, but I do think that this is where AI can help in that you can use AI in place of the officiating where the ball is placed. I mean, they already use it in tennis and so forth.
Yeah.
And you can use AI to track betting patterns and how many points people score in games. I think that's going to be important because otherwise, when I grew up, there was a racetrack down in Jersey in the Meadowlands, and you weren't really betting on you thought the best horse. You were betting on the horse you think was rigged to win the game. So it was still betting.
It's still, yeah, you're betting on like the human psychology around that. But I think Australia per capita, we're the biggest gambling problem in the world.
Really?
Yes.
What kind of gambling?
Sports, horse racing. If you watch any sport on TV here, like during the ad break, it's all gambling. They did a lot of parliamentary inquiry into it and how bad it is, and the apps and everything else. Yeah, we are the worst country in the world for it. So, and we've had even our cricket team, which we think like outstanding citizens, like a few years ago, got embroiled in some controversy in South Africa.
I remember that it was a big deal. You never cheated cricket.
It was a terrible. Like we lost all faith in our national team. So they've built it back, but it was a dreadful. I was like mourning. I was like, I was really sad about it, to be honest. Elizabeth, yes, workplaces with cultures that use circular firing squads for survival are toxic. Those are the workplaces to avoid at all costs. When accountability is being hid from, that's a bad place to work.
Well, if you have circular firing squads, which I interpret as people firing at each other, the idea there is to not get in a circle, right? And let me put it this way, and I'm not arguing with Elizabeth here. What I'm making is this point. We all have choices. That's part of expectations. And our choices are to leave.
Yeah.
And so if a workplace is just aberrant for us, if it's the antithesis of where we want to be, then go find another job. There are jobs,
Yeah.
Find something else to do. And, if it's just like somebody who's divorced 4 times. It turns out they kept marrying the same people, right?
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
psychologists say.
Yeah.
And so stop doing that. You find somebody who's completely different. And so if you're in a succession of jobs that are so displeasing, break that cycle
Yeah.
and do something different. But no one forces you to work in an environment like that.
No. I agree. And I was sharing an exercise before you jumped on about just going through like last year's calendar and just writing a list, 2 columns, what you enjoyed doing and what you didn't like to do. And obviously just stop accepting invites to do the same type of things this year if it didn't bring you joy or you didn't learn from it.
Right. Stop inviting your drunken uncle to the party.
That's right. But he might change. I like that. I would have that optimism. I'm like, you got to hope that people change. Anyway, Alan, I'm so glad that you got to jump on. Thank you so much for joining us for our season debut of Talk the Walk. And it was actually fun to riff a bit before you joined us. And thanks for staying on the call. If you were also waiting for Alan, it was great to have you here.
I apologize. I apologize to all of you, and I apologize to you. And I'm sorry. And next time I'll be more careful.